Monday there will be a quiz, which is going to be a multi-choice question. So first of all, you plan your configuration by determining the rules and features that suit the organization, and also look at the server resources in terms of the hardware and the software requirements. So first of all, we're going to look at installing the DNS Role on Windows Server 2019. Last week, I said that we're going to look at setting 3 main rules: the DNS, the DHCP, and then the Active Directory, that is the creating of users. So today we're going to focus on installing DNS Role on Windows Server 2019. So when I talk about DNS, it's basically domain name service that mostly deal with to map host names into corresponding IP addresses. That's exactly what DNS is all about. And they play a very important role in computer networks. So basically, for us to install our DNS rule, we are going to look at certain steps and methods. So the first method that we need to use to see is using the server manager. Last week, I told you that after installing the OS, we need to, the first interface that we can deploy after going to the start menu is the server manager, which is the graphical interface aspect of the server OS. So first of all, under the server manager, you need to open the server manager. Click on the Start menu, select Server Manager, and then that is the first step. I'll give you the screenshot for all these requirements. Then the second step also, we launch the role that we wanted to deploy. That's the DNS role. Okay. Then the second step, we launch the installation type, which deals with the role and based on feature selection. We also look at select the destination server. That is also looking at the local server from the server pool. Then we look at select the server role. In the server role windows, you need to check the DNS server where you are installing the DNS server. So after the installation, you see a pop-up. You need to add the features to go. Then you go to next. Then you skip the features. It's optional. The features can be Microsoft.NET framework and other type of features. They are optional that you can forget about that. Then we need to also read the DNS server information. That is, after you've checked your DNS, it will ask you to look at the information in terms of what the DNS is going to do for you in your organization. Then you need to confirm for the installation. Then you continue to install the DNS server. So after the installation, there are certain post-installation processes that you also need to look at. After the installation, you need to configure the DNS, which you've installed the DNS. Now, what exactly you want the DNS to do for you is also very, very important. So after installing the DNS rule, for the configuration, you need to go to Tools. You go to the DNS in Server Manager to open the DNS Manager console. You can now configure the zones, create records, and manage DNS settings. When you talk about DNS zones, basically, you are looking at what exactly the reserved lookup or the forward lookup the DNS is going to create for you. So first of all, you open the DNS Manager, you click on the Server Manager, you go to Tools, you open the DNS Manager console, then you create a forward lookup zone. That is, anytime we talk about forward lookup zone, this means that you are mapping the host name to the IP addresses. I've explained these things some time ago in class. So I hope you remember. So you need to map the host name to the IP addresses. So first of all, you wanted to create a forward lookup zone. Then you need to go to your DNS Manager, expand the server role, right-click on the forward lookup zone. You go to New Zone because a new zone you wanted to create. Then you click on Next on the welcome screen. Then you select Primary Zone. Then you click on Next. Now, after selecting primary, all the DNS servers running on domain controllers will integrate with the Active Directory if only you've set up a domain controller. Okay, so on the server, if the server is not a domain controller and a standalone server which is not under domain, That is another aspect that, so it's two main parameters, either a domain server or a standalone server. If it's a domain server, it will be integrated with the Active Directory under the organizational unit of the domain controllers applications. So when you've done that, you need to enter your zone name, any name that suits. If it is the domain, if the domain name is maybe UNE, it can be une.local. Okay, that will be the domain name. So you click on next, then you use the default zone file name, which is mostly provided by the system. Okay, then you choose the update method to allow only secure dynamic update to occur during the Active Directory environment. And also you can also allow or disallow any dynamic update. Okay, then you click on finish, then you are done with your zone creation. So the first one was to create a forward loop up zone that maps host name to its corresponding IP addresses. I hope it's clear. Then the second one was we're going to look at how we can create a reverse. The first one was a forward. So this one, we'll do how we can create a reverse loop up zone. That one is mostly optional. It's not all that mandatory, it's optional. So that one, we are mapping the IP addresses to the host names. The forward lookup zone of mapping the host name to the IP. But this one is the vice versa. The reverse, you are reversing what we did. So the reverse one is mapping the IP addresses to the host names. That one also goes through the same processes like you did. But with that one, when you go to the Premier, you need to enter the network ID, the IP addresses for the corresponding server machines that you have. Okay, then you also check your dynamic update if you want it. Then you click on finish. So that one is the vice versa of the forward loop up zone. Then another aspect is creating the DNS records. It's also a very important aspect in DNS configuration setup. How to create the record. Okay, so that one also you can map a host name to its corresponding IP. Okay, so that one go to the same procedure, but with that one, you need to indicate the website address of what you wanted to configure. The website address, you can indicate the website address, or you can also write the IP address and indicate the IP address and add host, then you are good to go. So basically, this is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to look at creating the DNS, installing the rule, and then after installing the rule, next time we'll also look at the configuration aspect of it, which is very, very important. What I explained earlier was the theory aspect. So I wanted to display the various screenshots for installing the DNS. That is the first thing I want you to do. You need to understand the installation process. Then in our next meeting, we talk about how we can create the forward loop up and then the reverse loop up, as I've explained earlier on. So if you wanted to install your DNS server role, after you've installed your server and going to the server manager option, you first go to your start. Per the screenshot you are seeing, you click on the server manager, which is there. Okay, from the server manager, this gives you a welcome to the server manager interface. And I believe all of you have this interface. As I said earlier on, that from next week, that is from Monday going, I expect every student should get its interface before he comes to class. It's very, very important. So from this interface, you can see we have the dashboard, the local server, all servers, file and storage servers, and then Hyper-V. Now, when you look at the other side, you have configure this local server. So it's telling you to configure your server. It describes the server as a local server because the server is in the local area network. So it's a local server. Now, that is the first one. Then the second one, add roles and features. And that is what we're going to do. We're going to add DNS role. Okay, that is exactly what we're going to do for the first one. For the second one, the third one, add other servers to manage, create a server group, connect the server to the cloud services. But we are focusing on the step 2, add roles and features. That is exactly what we are going to do today. And with the role that we're going to add is the DNS role. Okay, now when you come to the installation type, which is another screen, what are we installing? We are installing a role-based feature. We wanted the DNS to perform a role okay, doing data packet transmission and etc. So we need to check on the role-based or feature-based installation. That is the installation type that we are going to we are doing. Okay. Then from there we looked at the server selection. Now, naturally speaking, before you start installing your DNS, an IP address will be given to all the students. So there will be an assignment that I will put in and ask you to everybody to use the same IP address with the various default gateway and then DNS, everything. Every student will have the same IP. So when you're able to enter your IP addresses on your machine, then when you get to the server in selection, it's going to pick the IP address by default. Per what you see here. Here you can see 10.7. something. That IP address is on the server machine that I took the screenshot. So you need to deploy your IP addresses on your laptops before you can start installing your DNS role. So that is the destination server. Okay, that's the server selection. Then the next one is the select the server role. Now there are a lot of roles that you can see. We have the Active Directory. We have a lot of it. We have the DHCP server, but we are focusing on what? DNS server, which is highlighted in a blue background. So we are going to select the DNS server. Then you click on next. When you select, because that is what we are going to install. So you select the DNS server, then you click on what? Next. So that is the server role. Then from the server role, we are going to look at, are you going to add any extra services to the DNS to perform? Any feature services? Naturally speaking, by default, the server will pick one service called .NET Framework, okay, which mostly deals with your framework type of the application. Every OS has a .NET Framework. Then it's also check enhanced storage, because definitely we know the server is a storage device, despite it performs rules. It also has certain storage capacity. So by default, the system will check these two services. Okay, these two services is very, very important. Okay, so now after checking the two services, after checking those services, it asks you to read about what the DNS server is going to do in your server. It's going to describe what the domain name system provides in your server. So it's just an information of the DNS server. Okay. Then from there, you go to confirm. It asks you to confirm whether truly you are installing the DNS server. You need to confirm. So here, it will ask you to install the following rules and blah, blah, blah. Mostly these things are not all that important. You are just confirming to see truly whether this is. So under the box, the dialog box there, you can see DNS server, remote server administration tools, rules administration tools, and DNS server tools. So these are the various parameters that is going to install. Then you click on install, which is highlighted in the background, light blue. When you click on install, it will start the process of feature installation, view installation. So here, it will start with the installation. So you can see that the installation has started. Installation started on ts.1 also. So you can see the installation. You click on next, so this is the final installation process. That gets to the 100% installation process. Then you can see from the server manager that you have your DNS server installed on the right side, which gives you a green background. This one, that is the DNS server installed on the right side. So basically, this is the screenshot of installing the DNS server. Thank you very much. Okay, this is another assignment that I want you to work on it for me, and then bring it next 2 weeks. This from Monday, I'll collect the first assignment, which is a written one. Good. So here we're going to installing and configuring DNS server rule in Windows Server 2019. Okay, that is the title of the assignment. And this assignment needs to be deployed in the logbook. So that will be our next experiment. You need to deploy this assignment in the logbook. Then the objective is to demonstrate the ability to install and configure Windows configure the DNS Server role on a Windows Server operating system 2019. To demonstrate the ability to install and configure the DNS Server role on Windows Server 2019 system, including creating zones and resource record. With that one, we'll handle that one next week, how to create zones, etc. Now, the assignment instructions is, so for the first part, I want you to work on the first part. The first part is basically installing the DNS Server, and that is what I've deployed in the screenshots. So before you install the DNS Server rule, please, this is very important. Student, before you install the DNS Server rule, you need to configure the following IP address settings on your individual laptops. I repeat, before you install the DNS Server rule, you need to configure the following IP address settings on your individual laptop. So the IP will be 192.168.10.2. Your subnet mark will be the default one, 255.255.255.0. The default gateway will be 192.168.10.1. That will be the default gateway. Then the primary DNS will be 192.168.10.2. Then the alternate DNS will be blank. You leave that place blank. It's very, very important. So this is what you need to configure on your individual laptop before you start installing the DNS Server rule. It's very, very important. If you don't have these IPs on your individual laptop, you can never install the DNS Server rule. It's very, very important, please. So after the procedure, so you log into the server, use the administrative credentials to log in. Because you've created, during the installing your OS, it asks you to create an administrative password. So you use that to log into the server, Windows Server 2019. Then you install your DNS rule via the service manager, as I've explained. Please, students, this week we talked about installing the DNS Server rule. Okay. Then next week I'm going to talk about installing the DHCP Server rule. That is Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol Server rule. That is next week. I will deploy that screenshot and everything also online with an assignment. But students, prepare. This week from Monday there will be a quiz which is going to be a multi-choice questions through online, through the Google form. Okay, so prepare yourself. And that one is just about, I think, 10 questions or 20 questions. It's just about 10 minutes. You are done, you see your results, and I'll write the results down. So prepare, it's very, very important. That is from Monday. Okay, thank you very much.